receiving several awards for her successful leadership and devotion to helping other Toastmasters in District 38. She was previously Toastmaster of the Year and recognized with the Superhero Award for her service to District 38. Anne has held every officer position, serving various clubs, and served District 38 as leadership as the division director, area director, administration manager, and office training coordinator. She is currently the District 38 Speechcraft coordinator, mentor class coordinator, and District 83 club extension chair. Anne is dedicated to fostering relationships and sharing her knowledge and experiences to help others learn different strategies for success. Thus, the Speechcraft Coordinator webinars were developed to share the in-depth knowledge gained from her learning experience this past year as Speechcraft Coordinator for the Aura Lee Cancer Research Foundation. She is knowledgeable in the Pathways Education Program, completing 7 paths. She is a Toastmasters enthusiast. Please help me welcome Anne Golden.
Thank you, Sue, for that introduction. I truly appreciate it. And welcome, everyone, to the Speechcraft Coordinator Training webinar. After the session, I want to let you know when you leave the meeting, there'll be a short survey. And if you could respond to that, that will help me to gather metrics for my DTM project by answering those questions. And please be honest in your response. Don't sugarcoat it for me. Just be very honest in your responses, and that's going to help me to improve my presentations if I need to do that. I always am looking for feedback. Anybody that knows me will tell you that. How this is going to work is I developed a short presentation, not really short, a presentation, and walking through the different steps on the agenda. And then there's a pre-recorded video where I'm going to walk you through the steps of the actual Speechcraft gateway/portal. And I pre-recorded that while I had access to the portal. So that's how this presentation is going to go. But after each section, because there's so much material to cover, I stop and I ask for questions. So that's how the webinar will work. So for right now, I'm going to start my screen share. I can find my presentation that's open. Okay, then do screen share, close this. There we go. And please let me know with a thumbs up that everybody can see the slides. Fantastic. So this is our agenda for today. I'll review the bundle purchase details because there's quite a bit you should really know when you're purchasing. Then I'm going to go into planning and organizing, what I did as the Speechcraft coordinator and the tips that I learned by doing that. What makes this Speechcraft coordinator training different than maybe others you've gone to is I go into detail about the responsibility and the resources for the Speechcraft coordinator. And finally, I'll walk you through the Speechcraft portal access and the different screens that you would need to navigate. And as I mentioned previously, there's an after session survey that I'm asking. Now, there are 7 steps to a successful Speechcraft workshop, and they are: you need to meet the Speechcraft qualifications as a coordinator. You need to purchase the bundle. You need to select a program meeting schedule. You need to market and advertise your Speechcraft. You need to solicit volunteers for those sessions. You conduct the sessions, and at the end, you have a celebration to complete it. And each of these items I will cover. Now, let's talk about the digital bundle purchase because it is digital. You can no longer buy Speechcraft in booklets. It's all digital. And in order to purchase it, you must be a Toastmaster. and the Speechcraft workshop must be sponsored by a club in good standing. They are the two major things you really need to know before you even purchase the bundle. And this is what you get in the bundle. And it's only $50. That's what's awesome about it. It's only $50. And they give you two marketing material. There's two videos, and one of them is from Mike Carr, the 2020 world champion speaker on vocal variety, which I learned a few tips from. And you only can access that once you're in the portal. Or, I mean, once you buy the bundle and it's in the portal. And the same thing with the powerful word video. I'm an avid learner and I love this material. I'm always learning. So I listen to everything that they give me. The other thing that you need to be aware of when you purchase the bundle is the legal messaging about this particular bundle. And what that means is I'm going to show you some things in the portal later. And what I did as my own coordinator, I created slides for myself for reference. I am not allowed to share that material and disseminate it across Toastmasters. That is protected by Toastmasters proprietary rights. And so therefore, when you re-upload or reproduce anything that's within the portal, you can only do that for your sessions.
Excuse me, Ian. Willie put a great question in the chat. Can two clubs not in good standing, but combined would be in good standing, sponsor a Speechcraft program?
Now, both clubs have to be in good standing, and I'll get into that later as to how that's going to work. So that's a great question, Willie. Thank you. And this is why it can only be club sponsor. Area divisions and districts cannot sponsor Speechcraft. It's according to Protocol 5.0. It is strictly at the club level. Some districts have tried to incentivize clubs to have this, but they can't coordinate it at the district level. It has to be done at the club level because what is the purpose of Speechcraft? Is to grow membership within your club. And your members should be participants in it, and I'll explain why. Now, purchasing the bundle, you need to save your purchase order number. You will get an email with confirmation. That is your code to access the Speechcraft gateway. You can't sign in without it. You must save that and put that in a safe place. And you need to know that the bundle gives you only participants for 5 people per bundle. What happens if you get 6? I don't recommend purchasing another bundle for just one more person unless you can recruit more people. The club has to be in good standing as well to finance the bundle. I'm going to go into details about that. And the Toastmaster has to be in good standing because a Toastmaster can purchase the bundle themselves. And there are no refunds for the slots that are not used. So if you purchase a bundle for 5 and you only have 4, that slot is unused and there's nothing you can do about it. And this is where you can purchase the Speechcraft bundle. And it was in the handout of links that I provided to everyone who registered for this event. And Sue may be dropping that in the chat for a minute. Now, who pays the tuition for this? You notice I said tuition, not fees. This is the way the club can market the Speechcraft. It's tuition. And even if the individual Toastmaster buys the bundle, I highly recommend that you request reimbursement for the club because the club is supposed to sponsor this. And the club will get the money back. The club will not be out money. Participants, and they're known as Speechcrafters, by the way, they can pay the tuition plus any cost of materials. And Toastmasters Protocol 8.2, which was also in the link was in the handout, says that it can be used for fundraising purposes. But those funds must be used for educational purposes. Now, the fees that the club can charge these participants, these speechcrafters, can be no more than 1 year's membership fee, which is now $120. It can't exceed that. So how do you market this as a club? Well, I've seen some districts charge over $100. But what you can do is charge the $10 because it's 5 people, so it's $10 per person. You can charge your 6-month membership fee, which is now $60. If you want to include the new pathways, the new member fee of $20, that would take you to $90. And you would call that tuition. Then at the end of the session, you can promote it to the participants as you can offer them a free membership to your club. That's how you can market it and get them to become members for 6 months. It's all in the technique of marketing. And I learned that since I've started these presentations. So it helps to listen to others presenters and how they market it. This is not something I've come up with on my own. Now, to be the Speechcraft coordinator, they must be from the sponsoring club. Willie had a question about 2 clubs marketing, coming together to hold a Speechcraft. They could do that, but they can't sponsor the same group of 5. Each club would need to have their own group of 5.
Excuse me, Ian. Jeanette just put a great question in the chat. What about club dues? Can you add them to the total tuition?
Yes, that's what I said. Yes. Oh, club dues. Yes, you can. Perfect. That's a good tip. I'll add that to my notes. Thanks, Jeanette. Yes, because in that way, especially for clubs that do charge club dues, if they meet in person, whatever, or even some online clubs charge that. It's a way to recoup, definitely. But the coordinator has to be from the sponsoring club. So even if there's 2 clubs that are sponsoring, there has to be a coordinator from each sponsoring club. And the member has to be in good standing, which means their dues have to be up to date. And there's Toastmasters recommends 1 coordinator for every 5. And the maximum is 1 coordinator to 8. There is a lot of work involved as the coordinator. And so it's really, if you could adhere to that, you'll see the details later. I did a Speechcraft for 10 because they came to me from the district. They weren't interested in joining a club. They were looking to improve their speaking skills for a specific organization, and they wanted 10 of their volunteers to come. So I was the coordinator for 10. I will tell you, it's a lot of work. So limit it to 5 per coordinator. All right, now I'm going to pause here. Are there any questions on what I've covered so far? On purchasing the bundle and the rules and regulations surrounding them.
Yeah, Ian, I have a question if you don't mind.
Yes, Sue.
I know I've heard that clubs can purchase the bundle, individuals can purchase the bundle, but I've also heard something about purchasing a bundle using the Toastmasters International gift certificates. Is now a good time to ask about that? How does that work?
I guess you could. You would just use the code like you would for purchasing everything else. You would have to try it. I have no experience in that. So you would have to give it a try and see if that would work. But that's a good question. Yes, Roxanne.
I have the understanding that coordinator can only coordinate up to 5 people, that you require a separate coordinator for the separate bundle, and that you have to buy another bundle. But I'm hearing something different from you right now. Can you explain?
I actually bought 2 bundles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a hard time trying to get another Toastmaster to help me to coordinate it. And the club that I chose to sponsor it, it was a club that had just been recently chartered, and none of them were interested. But it was chartered in 2019, so 2023, nobody was really interested in helping to coordinate it, nor did they really have the knowledge and skill set to do it. So I coordinated both. You can do it, but it's just not a good idea to do. And if you get more than 5, then work with another member in your club to be the second coordinator, because this also satisfies one of the DTM projects. If you're working, find out who in your club is looking to become a DTM and needs some projects, this qualifies. I think it's club mentor, club coach, or Speechcraft. I forget, and I could be wrong.
I can help answer that, Anne. You need to either be a club sponsor, sponsoring a new club, or conduct a Speechcraft, or conduct a youth leadership. A totally different line item is serving as a club coach or a mentor for a newly chartered club.
Thank you, Sue.
I
And
do
even though I
still-
have that all spread out in a spreadsheet, I messed it up. Yes, Roxanne.
Sorry, I just need to know though, you must pay another $50 for a bundle, regardless if it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, I just
That's
needed
why,
that.
Yep.
Thank you.
and that's why I said it's not, your return of investment for another bundle for one person. You have to get more people. David has a question. Yes, David.
Yes, I think you and Sue answered my question about the coordinator credits. I had in mind to start a Speechcraft program in January, and if we have more than 5, I'll have to recruit another volunteer to coordinate with me.
Correct.
But it's good to know that I can incentivize and tell them, well, this is credit towards your DTM. So I'm not so worried about that. You said if you have 6 people wanting to sign up for Speechcraft, don't buy that second bundle. What about like 8, 9 people?
Right. Exactly.
You-
Exactly. I mean, if you wanted to be generous and buy the second bundle and add that 6th person to your, you can conduct one workshop with one coordinator for up to 8 Speechcrafters. That's the maximum that Toastmasters recommends. It's not a rule that you can't do it for more than that. It's just a recommendation.
Okay.
So if you get 10, I would try to get 2, but you as a coordinator could be a single coordinator for as many as 8 Speechcrafters.
Got it.
Lee,
Hi, Anne. I have one question. I clicked the link you sent us. I tried to buy it. So it said $50, but after I add to the checkout, it automatically become $100. Why?
you must have checked your cart. You added 2.
I check again. It is 1. Then if it's no problem, then maybe I double check. It is
Yes,
1
double
item.
check. Unless they raised the price. But I didn't know that. I think it was $50. Can Sue Brooks check that for me?
I can do that, yes, but I believe the price is still $50. You could double check your cart just to make sure, as Ian said, you didn't accidentally hit it twice.
Yeah, it is 1 item, but in the front, it is said $50, no problem. After add to the cart, automatically become $100. But you can check later, let us know.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
please
you
go
for
ahead.
that, Lee.
Yeah.
Yes, Sue's going to check that out for us because that's
Yeah.
very important to know. Any other questions?
There is a question in the chat.
Amy, can you read it?
Yes, it says, if you purchase a bundle for only 2 people, can the other 3 slots be used for a second Speechcraft? And then I can't see. William, can you get the bottom of your?
I can read the rest of it.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Just
it's
a
within the
bundle.
same, it's within the same 6-month period.
Oh,
Well, speech.
yeah, that's a good
sending-
question, William. I don't
I
know about
know,
that.
I know how that works.
Okay.
Within it's not necessarily just 6 months. Okay. If you purchase a bundle for only 2 people, the other 3 slots, you can have people added to it while the Speechcraft program is underway that you are conducting. I did that with someone. They had an issue with one of the licenses and access, so I duplicated that person and added him in because we had a couple of extra slots, so I did that. So it was still open and available during the time frame when I and the other coordinator were conducting the Speechcraft. But
Once you end your Speechcraft, you can't
And-
do that, correct?
but during the time that you are delivering the Speechcraft and when it is still open, you can add people. They will obviously not have progressed as much as the others. The program will be underway, but yes, you can add them. We did that successfully a year and a half ago. Thank you for that
But you
question.
cannot extend the program to, so to speak, to extend their time, correct? Yeah. Great question. Great question, Willie. Man, you're a tough challenge. You're really educating me. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
And Fred just mentioned it is $50. He bought one 3 days ago.
Oh, thank you, Fred. All right. If there's no further questions, I would like to move on this particular purchase and then just continue to add your questions in the chat. And if we have time at the end, we will address them. If not, chat is saved for everybody and I will get the answers to you. Now we're going to go into the planning. What does it take to plan a Speechcraft? There's a lot of work and I love it. I recommend you start 2 weeks before, 2 months before you decide to do your event. There's a lot of pre-planning. Number one, as the coordinator, you have to decide how many weeks is your session going to be, a 4-week, a 6-week, or 8-week. Now realize the Speechcraft program and the material in it is based on 8 weeks. So if you decide to have a shorter session, you as the coordinator are going to have to decide what topics you will not be covering. I want to make that clear, and you'll understand when I get into the details of the sessions. You need to set a workshop schedule, your time and date. When are you going to have this? You need to decide if you're going to have the sessions during your club meetings. Do you meet once a week, twice a week, once a month? Then you're going to have to add meetings to hold these workshops. And will your session be 1 hour or 2 hours? 1 hour, it's limited for the Speechcrafters to participate. 2 hours gives them much more of an opportunity to complete the program. You need to establish the tuition costs that I just discussed. Very important that you review all Speechcraft rules and regulations. And you need to review the Speechcraft materials and explore the Speechcraft gateway. There is so much information on that gateway. You need to learn as a coordinator what you are going to need to do. It's not just you. You need to recruit your volunteers. Who do you need? You need Speechcraft guides for the Speechcrafters. And they must attend all meetings. Life happens, and sometimes they can't. In my session, I had 1 or 2 Speechcrafters that missed 1 or 2 sessions, but they still followed up with their Speechcrafters. They actually mentor the Speechcrafters on how to write a speech. Also, during the meetings that I conducted, I did it as was recommended. There is like a 15-minute session in there where the Speechcrafters and their guides go into a breakout room and they discuss. So they're mentored, questions and answers, and that type of a thing. So you need guides. Your members can be guides for the Speechcrafters. Me personally, I selected seasoned Toastmasters. You need to recruit Toastmasters to present the educational presentations for each meeting. Educational presentations? What are they? I'll tell you a little bit later. And then you need to recruit members for functionary roles, because this is like a mini Toastmasters meeting. I always say a Toastmaster should never speak for free. If you're speaking, you should be evaluated, even if it's a generic evaluation, so that you can apply it to one of your pathways projects down the road. So you need an evaluator for the presenters that give 10 to 15-minute presentations on the educational material. And initially, the speech crafters don't know how to evaluate one another. So for the first 2 meetings, you need members to evaluate the speech crafters' first 2 speeches. After that, they evaluate one another. Then you need a table topics master and a general evaluator. They get the full, the timing is much shorter for these roles, but they still are part of the session. Then you need a timer. We still time everything. And for my sessions, I added the counter. I thought it was helpful to have the counter to help them realize, and you know what? It worked. By the end of the session, they were improved in they paused rather than using filler words. And finally, this is a tip that I'm going to share with you. You have to recruit all these people. How are you going to keep track of it? How are you going to coordinate it? Create a spreadsheet to track the volunteer schedule, what meetings they're coming to and what role they are taking. And how you do that? This is a sample of what I did. This is the tab in Excel called the role validation. You go to the second tab and you set up your roles, you set up your meeting dates, and then I set up, these are actually the educational topics from the Better Speaker series. And then what did I do next? On the Speechcraft volunteer sign up tab, this is what I did. I put a volunteer name, and what I did, I highlighted these columns, and I made it validated so that it was a drop-down menu. So when I shared the link to the file with my volunteers, the people that I asked, so they could come in, fill their name, hit the drop-down, decide what session they wanted to come to and what meeting role they were taking. And then if they were going to do an education presentation, they selected from the drop-down menu what presentation they were going to do. And the presentations follow an order. I can share that spreadsheet with you on screen after I'm done this section of the presentation so that you can see it live, but I don't give that spreadsheet out. And this is what it looked like for the orally when I was setting it up for session 6, with not having the people come in. They signed up for the roles. They came in, they signed up for the roles, and this is what they selected. And that's how that looked. Going to pause, and I'm going to stop sharing so that I can show you that spreadsheet and reshare, because that's what I have to do. So give me a minute, please, or a second. Volunteer, here we go. Because I think it's helpful to see it live as opposed to just looking at it from a slide presentation, and it would give you a better idea. So I'm going, can everybody see, thumbs up if you can see this, see the Excel spreadsheet? All right. So this is the validation. This is how you set it up. You put your headers up here and you put in here the categories. And then when you come to this page, you validate this. And there's a button up here that says validate under data. Data validation. Where is it? Advanced. Now, there, right, there's a list. You list your range. There's a data validation so that when you come here, you have the drop-down menu. And you come in here, and then you see everything from that cell, but they can select what they want to do and all the meeting roles. And then if they're doing an education presentation, and the education presentations are selected per session, that's how you keep track and you know who's doing what. That's real important because there's so much organization involved in it. I'm going to stop and to see if there's any questions on that part of the presentation.
Actually, Ian, Lulu had
Yes.
a question about something we talked about earlier, right after
Okay.
we went into this section. And her question is, can the members in the club be speech crafters?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I know District 13, when they do Speechcraft sessions, sometimes they have members come because it's a way for them to start a new path, basically quick start it. It's very helpful because I'll get into what that transpires to later. As a matter of fact, I think it, when you take some of the resources, it's in there. When you complete that, you come in at a level 2 in pathways. And I think it's at the elective level, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right, Sue or Fred?
Depends on how many they actually complete,
Right.
whether it's up to level 2 or into level 3, depending on how
Great.
many projects they complete. Yes,
Right.
but that's clearly mapped in the handout. Looks like David has his hand.
Yes,
Yes, David.
similar to how you were saying, you can market this as to get a free membership. If a existing paid member does sign up for Speechcraft, can you give them a discount from what you're offering to non-members? Is that like another way
They
to
would probably just
advise
pay
them?
the bundle fee because they're already a member.
Just pay the bundle fee, and what you're
Right.
offering, the price you're offering to non-members, like that's a separate price.
Yeah, I would think so. Speechcraft is designed for non-members. But sometimes when you can't you need 2 more people, you bring in Toastmasters
Mhm.
who want to start a new path. And that way that's another way of getting a full class.
So charge them like the $10
like
because I see it as, $10 per person to just pay for the bundle.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that way you get a full class. Yes,
And
Sue.
also building on what David just said, that enables the people who are existing Toastmasters who joined the Speechcraft program, that sets up the stage for success for them to potentially consider being a coordinator in the future.
I love Roxanne's comment. Other options is for advanced clubs to help people qualify for membership. Love that. Love that. Yes. So that's the way you can fill out your classes. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to move on. Okay to move on, Sue?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Gather your resources. This is what you need to do in your planning stage. Use the handout that I sent to everybody and download all those resources. And I'll go into organizing as to where and show you what I did and share my tips with you as to what I did. But it's really fantastic. The Better Speaker series is a phenomenal resource to use. Not only on promoting, you need to use it for your Speechcraft, but also in your regular club meetings during the year. These are awesome topics to have a Toastmaster who present in one of your meetings. But it goes from beginning your speech, concluding your speech. It teaches the non-Toastmasters the basic skills of Toastmasters public speaking. And those of us that have been Toastmasters for a while, if you remember the competent communicator manuals, first 10 speeches, well, this builds on that. This is what this is, teaching them their basic speaking and communication skills. And that's where your educational materials come from. And what I did as the coordinator, there's a handout with this, there's a facilitator guide, and there's slides. And so I proceeded to give that to my educational presenters. So they had an outline. And I did research for more resources for myself on that particular topic because there's magazine articles and things like that on Toastmasters. And I gave them the information to help them. And any good presenter will gather that information and put a presentation together. I just wanted to help them to get started because some of my presenters maybe have not done a presentation like this in a couple of years. and they know what they're doing, but you want to give them a head start, and these materials give you ideas. And so it's very important to download this and have it. Now, there's two places you can get the resources, and that's the first one I showed you. Right here is from Toastmasters.org. All right. For District 38's website, they provide District 38 members from their website an easy access that's a direct link from TI that it'll download it as a zip file. I want to show you two places where you can download those files. Now, any questions on the Better Speaker series before I go into organizing the Speechcraft files? Because I'm going to go right along to keep things moving. All right. This is what I did. I created a Speechcraft project in my documents folder, but then within the Speechcraft, I created a subfolder for each session because each session has a different education presentation. There's different evaluation forms for the Speechcrafters because their speeches are based on the education presentation. So you give the education presentation first, and then they follow up with doing that project. Like select a topic. You have someone give an education presentation on selected topic. Well, at the next meeting, the way those meetings flow is they give a speech on selecting a topic, and they follow the outline to do that. Then I created a Speechcraft session resource where I stored my Better Speaker series and other things else. The Speechcraft guide instructions is where I created my PowerPoints from the portal, and I stored it in there for my references. And then at the end, there's certificates. I downloaded and saved them. And then I had a presentation at the end to give it to them. So you want to organize your folder so that it's quick and easy to find your materials. Any question on organizing? Yes, Sue.
Thank you, Anne. Not specifically on organizing, but something somebody said prompted me to think of something we talked about slightly earlier. And that is a lot of people were asking about helpers and people assisting in the Speechcraft series that they're going to be facilitating. A
Right.
helpful tip that you all just reminded me of: if you find you are going to be facilitating a Speechcraft, let's just say at the start of 2024, and then another pair of us are also going to be doing it, perhaps in another district, but you know them, or maybe you're going to learn to know them. This happened to me and Peggy Seymour, along with two other people in District 83 that were co-presenting a Speechcraft sponsored by their club. Peggy and I were doing one, Ravi and Michelle were doing one. We were doing it on behalf of this club. They were doing it on behalf of that club. We heard each other say something, so the four of us volunteered to help the others at each other's Speechcraft. Ravi
Yes.
was a presenter at ours one week. Michelle came in another week. Conversely, Peggy came in and volunteered at Ravi and Michelle's one week. I came in and volunteered at Ravi and Michelle's another week. It's all about sharing and helping another person if the timing works out for you. Just wanted to share that helpful tip. And I see we have another question in the chat from Fred. May I?
Yes.
Fred remarked, also be aware that some states, he thinks Pennsylvania, charges tax on Speechcraft.
Yes,
So
they do.
bill may be $53, $50 for the bundle plus $3 tax. Fred, that's a great point. And as coordinators, we need to factor those charges in on how we're going to pass it along to the Speechcrafters.
Yes, Roxanne.
The Better Speaker series that you are referring to is one that you're utilizing specifically for the presenters. You're not
Correct.
incorporating that, yes, you're not incorporating any other curriculum because you cannot. You're using the Speechcraft materials. I just wanted that point of clarification. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And the other thing about who do you recruit? Recruit your members. Be a timer to do the table topics, to be the general, they can fill those roles. And even if, you have to judge who your Toastmaster members are. And if they can do an educational presentation. Like I said, the club that sponsored was a fairly new club. It's only a few years old. So I went to my network of DTMs and other seasoned Toastmasters to do the education presentations because they were more comfortable with doing that. Not that they couldn't do it, but they were seasoned presenters. And I knew I was going to get a good presentation and they were going to engage the Speechcrafters. And that's who you want. You want presenters who are going to engage the Speechcrafters. And so that's what I did. Any other questions on that and who to get to volunteer for this session?
And
These sessions.
note in the chat posted by Ian Mellinson, she stated that District 44, Paces West Toastmasters, is sponsoring its first Speechcraft Saturday mornings in February 2024. She would be delighted to help share with another session. She provided her email.
Fantastic. Get that email when you save it to your chat and reach out to Ann. This is what's beautiful about these type of sessions. You expand your Toastmasters network, and there's nothing like having an expanded Toastmasters network. Are we ready to move on? I can see my time here. All right. The next session. Coordinator responsibility and the gateway portal. And that's the end of that presentation. And now I will be taking you to the pre-recorded video if there are no questions on what's been covered so far. Before you log in, you do have an opportunity to see thumbs up if you hear it and Speechcraft is about. There are overview information that you can get without buying the bundle. I suggest you listen to this very important video that tells you about the Speechcraft experience and explains the portal and how it works. That's very important. Up here, if you click the overview, it will take you to overview. And it explains the overview. And for quick synopsis of Speechcraft content, here you go. It's going to take you to Toastmaster Speechcraft content, which I showed you, you can download from Toastmasters website, all at one shot from that resource page. Get all your information from resource so you're not spending extra time downloading material. Here's the coordinator. Again, this will take you to the Toastmasters website to buy it. The coordinator quick start guide and the participant quick start guide. I already told you to get that information from the store, so you're ahead of the game. This is an important webinar that you would have to watch. It's about 61 minutes long. But when you click on that, you have to register. You have to register and since I've already done it and I'm in my Speechcraft, it shows you when the date and time that I registered to watch that webinar. And therefore you would have to fill this form out to be able to watch that webinar. Oops. Did I lose my space? Toastmasters International. Okay, there we go. Then it tells you who would be interested in attending. And this is important to know, and this is going to help you decide how many sessions you're going to have. Let's suppose you want to do a Speechcraft webinar for your corporate executives, separate from your club. They don't have the time for an 8-week course. You will more likely do a 4-session course, a 4-week course. And you could work with them on picking out the topics that you want to cover. And then you would concentrate on the 4 most important topics with them. So this is going to determine your session. If it's someone that wants to become a Toastmaster or wants even more knowledge, then your 8 session's going to be more the type of session that you would hold. But if it's someone that just wants an introduction to public speaking, you could hold the 4 session. Now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to log in because I want to share with you I don't know why that came up. Okay, so it's going to take you to coordinator guide and it's going to give you the coordinator overview. And then it's going to outline for you how to quick start your preparation before the event is created, things I have gone over. And this is stuff you should have covered before you even come in to create your event. And I've covered that already. So we're going to go to create a new event. And this is real important. You must decide what you're going to name your event. Because once you name it, you cannot change the name of the event. You can change the beginning date if you do it 1 to 2 weeks before, and you can change the end date. You can extend it if you do it 1 to 2 weeks before the end date. But once you name your event, that's the one thing you can't change. So be careful of your spelling and everything else, that it's spelled correctly. I tend to have a capital letter in the middle of mine. I'll show you what I mean. You don't need to put the club's URL if they have a free toast post or whatever. You don't need to know that. But this is why I want to emphasize that when you make the purchase, save that bundle order number. That is really important. You cannot activate your Speechcraft workshop without that bundle order number. So once you get confirmation and they give you a bundle order number, save that in a safe spot. Create yourself a Speechcraft portal or a Speechcraft folder on your computer and save it there, because you can't access the portal without it. And then they will ask you to verify your coordinator information here. The one thing I want to mention here towards the end that goes real quick is that they do ask what you are charging for the bundle. That's why you need to decide up front what the cost is, because that goes real quick on here. And then you have to enter in the event details. See here, event name. It's really important that you name it what you want to call it. Mine was the Orally Speechcraft. Name it for your company if you want, or if it's for a special event. Speechcraft interviews, or interviews, Speechcraft for interviews, or whatever. You don't have to pick your date at this time. But if you are, you would click on this and provide the date and the time zone. But to get started, you don't have to pick your date yet, but you have to name it to be able, and you have to agree to the terms and condition. And once you hit that and submit it, then it will take you to your event page. And this is what I'm telling you about spelling. You see how my Speechcraft is? It's all in caps except for the S. You want to make sure. Then you will have to add your participants. And once this comes up, you'll see where you can add. Since I've already started mine and I have the participants, I really can't show you. This would be empty. It would tell you to add the person. You have to add them by name and email address. I'm stopping it there for those who are interested in having 2 coordinators from the same club. There's one main coordinator who would open this and set everything up. And this is where you would sign your second coordinator if you had a big group. If you wanted to have someone help you, you can add a second coordinator. Yes. So
Thank you, Anne. There's a few things in the chat and I have one question comment. Working backwards, Fred had said, and they asked the speech crafters after the session how much you charged them. So that's good advice for afterwards. Also from Roxanne and from David, they were inquiring about the frequency of your setting your schedule. You mentioned you conducted yours, you had 8 sessions, but theirs were very interesting in that they are asking about something that you did with the Orally Cancer Research Foundation Speechcraft, to have the sessions every 2 weeks. You don't have to have a session 8 consecutive weeks in a row. This gives
Correct.
you time to prepare, and it gives the speech crafters time to prepare their materials, and your volunteers and mentors, guides to prepare their educational sessions as well. So
Right.
thank you, both of you, for raising that. And the comment I have, you're going through the material in a very organized way, Ian. This is fabulous, both your spoken word and your pre-recorded video. But something I think all the potential Speechcraft coordinators need to know, there's certain things that are revealed to you in advance through the links that Ian has provided. Then after you purchase your bundle, you get access to more of the information that you will need to read. And then once your speech crafters' names are entered, then you will be able to see more in terms of what they can see. So it's a progression. You don't just get everything all at once. You have to take your time reading the material in advance. Then once you purchase the bundle, you'll get more. And then once you have your speech crafters, you get more. It's much like unlocking levels at a video game. Thank you, Anne.
You're welcome. And this assign a new coordinator, I misspoke. What this is for is if you cannot be the coordinator for the event, this is where you can assign someone else to take over for you, but they have to be from your club. You cannot assign someone outside your club. So if you cannot be the coordinator that you initially planned to be, this is where you would assign it to someone else to take over the sessions for you, and they would get credit for it, but they must be from your club. Yes, Roxanne?
It's unfortunate, but one of the things is that the coordinator is the only one that has access to all of the information online. So
That's
your
correct.
guides don't. So you can download and give them information, but the only way for them to access this whole thing would be if you gave them your credentials to sign in. Is there any other workaround?
And I didn't give my credentials for them to sign in. I gave them the information.
Right.
Yes,
That's what
David.
I downloaded and provided it to them. That's a limiting factor for, though, I believe, anyway.
Yep. David?
Yes, if you purchase more than one module, so you're gonna have to fill out this page more than once.
Oh, yeah, you have to sign in under the different purchase order number. Right, they will
Okay.
be different sessions. Yes.
Okay.
However, I purchased 2 bundles and I had 2 simultaneously going when I signed in. So it will show up when you, as the purchaser and coordinator, open up, you will see both sessions. So I had 10, but this is for Group A. I had another one when I showed you up top, there were 2 Speechcraft sessions going, and that was my Group B. And that's how I created a spreadsheet too, Group A and Group B, and who the Speechcraft guides were for each group.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fred?
Just want to point out that you can have 2 coordinators that have simultaneous access to the same material. It's as simple as reaching out to the Speechcraft help desk. This is important because if you look at the DTM application, up to 2 people, up to 2 coordinators, facilitators are able to get credit for the same Speechcraft event. So if you have somebody that's wanting to be the co-coordinator part to get their DTM, just contact Speechcraft help desk. They make it, they'll now have access to.
That's right, because they have to set it up. That's right. They have to set it up within the portal. Thank you, Fred. Right, you can't do that. It has to be done from TI. Thank you. I forgot that. Yes. Sue Brooks.
Yeah, thank you. And building on what was just mentioned by Fred, if you have your name as the coordinator on one portal, but somebody else has the coordinator name on another portal, if you're doing it together, you can only see your speech crafters and they can only see their speech crafters. Obviously, you can get credit, as Fred mentioned, and the other coordinator can get DTM credit if that's one of your goals. You can each get DTM credit, but you cannot see the progress of the speech crafters on somebody else's portal.
I think what Fred was saying is that you could have co-coordinators for one Speechcraft session, if I'm not mistaken. So even if I only have 5 participants, I can still have a co-coordinator, correct? Is that what you're saying, Fred? But you have to contact Speechcraft Direct because they're the ones that would have to set it up here in the gateway. You can't do that. And I didn't know that.
And
Because
will
I
that,
would have done
Fred,
that for my
will that enable, will that override what I just said? Will you be able to see each other's speech crafters?
It's going to be the same group of speech crafters. You can have 2 coordinators for a group of 5.
That wasn't
But-
what I was saying. That wasn't what I was,
Right. No, but if it's separate, no, you won't be able to see, I don't think.
right, if I have a portal separate from Ann Golden's portal, she can't see my Speechcraft coordinators and I can't see hers. Got it.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So we're,
Correct.
there's 2 separate items, but important for each of us to know if we are working with other Speechcraft coordinators, should our membership and attendance be great, much like Ann Golden's was in early 2023. Thank
Yes. That's a great tip, Fred, because I could have helped a fellow Toastmaster. I didn't know that I could do that. So you see, you're still learning and growing. Nobody has all the answers. So I am truly grateful for these experienced Toastmasters coming here and sharing their information because we all learn and grow. That's just awesome, isn't it? I have to continue this video. All right, and they will be added. You have to make sure they register for the event because they will receive an email notice saying that they've been added. And they have to click on that link and register for the event to become a participant. And this will let you know if they've been registered or not. So there's some follow-up in the beginning as well. Then once you set that all up, it'll say, go to my Speechcraft Learning. And it's going to take to your Speechcraft portal in Basecamp. And it's going to look quite similar to what Pathways is. What I did was I've always clicked on the learning. If you want a shortcut, when you click learning, what is here, these tabs are also in the learning tab. It says introduction, start here. That is for the coordinators to start here. Mine was the orally speak. I've always clicked on the learning. If you want a shortcut, when you click learning, what is here, these tabs are also in the learning tab. So I've saved them to your Speechcraft folder. You will need them for a reference later. You will find that helpful. The important thing to know is they're all slides or it's a video. This is a slide. It says Start Project, and you'll go through each of these. And if you click on this, it'll jump you to the introduction. What's important to know is every time you view a slide, there are resources over here in the upper right-hand corner. Do you see that? Download those resources and save them to your Speechcraft folder. You will need them for a reference later. You will find that helpful. I'm going to end this, and to exit out of the tabs that you are in each of the Speechcraft portals is you just do that and it'll bring you back. It's going to bring you back to your Pass and Learning page, similar to the Basecamp portal. This is for you, how to get started. Open the curriculum. This is your Speechcraft Coordinator's introduction and your Speechcraft Coordinator planning. You need to launch that. You have some learning to do before you even conduct the Speechcraft. That's why I said you need 3 to 4 weeks before you do your Speechcraft so that you can learn what you need to do to conduct the Speechcraft. It's the same thing as your Basecamp Pass and Learning page. If you open up in Basecamp in Pathways, if you open up all the resources, when you go to the resource page for the evaluation forms and you come to your Pass and Learning, you'll see it here with all your projects. Don't worry about having to mark it complete or not. It's just showing that you had activated it and if you want to mark it complete. So that's how to get started. Then for each session, you have a guide as to what to present at that session. They guide you. And you launch that. And that is another slide presentation. And I'll hit restart. And again, Coordinator's Guide, Session 1, choose a topic. That's what your objective is. Choose a topic. Teaching them how to choose a topic to write a speech. Talks about your first session, and these are the 3 objectives. It walks you through the steps. You want to introduce the Speechcraft program. You want to develop speech topic selection skills and impromptu speaking. That's where table topics is introduced. And on this slide, on these here, it shows you and it tells you what you need to do with the table topics. Again, I'm not going through that, but here's your resources for session 1. As you see, they have a session 1 8 agenda, a session 1 6 agenda, and a session 1 agenda for 4 sessions. It gives you an outline and it's easy to follow. I recommend downloading all of them. They even have a blank template. This Speechcraft self-assessment before, what is that? Before the Speechcrafters can begin, they have a self-assessment that they need to do, and they do it online. What they're advising you to do here is to download it and print it as a PDF and be able to share it with the Speechcrafters in case someone has problem technically with accessing it on the Speechcraft portal. So that's the before. Now, remember I talked about educational presentations. Well, here's the outline for that presentation. As you see in session 1, there are 2. In each session, they will give you an outline for the educational presentation that needs to be given. Select a speech topic presentation outline and the value of improving public speaking. You give that to your 2 educational presenters. It gives them a guideline as to what Toastmasters is looking for the presenter to provide the Speechcrafters, what information. And then you go to the Better Speaker series and see what type of information they offer you for that. And then you formulate your presentation based on your research of the resources. And that's how any good presenter puts together the material for a presentation. And that's how it is done, because in Toastmasters, what is this? Let me go this video. You have written information, and then you have a video that explains everything. So far, so good, because that is a lot of information. And you want to click on coordinator tracking. Now, this will tell you completed. If they didn't do their self-assessment, it will tell you that it needs to be activated, just like in Pathways. If they opened it and viewed it, this will say launch, and this will say in progress. The coordinator tracking, that's where you want to go. And then it'll say speech tracking, and you want to view the details. And this will tell you whether or not they've come into their own base camp and did the necessary steps to mark that they've completed a speech project. It's a little bit different than in Pathways. Sometimes you don't know whether a member completed it or not because they may have done a speech at another club or something like that. But in this case, they're going to do their speeches in your Speechcraft session, so you will know. And you want to make sure that you tell them that after they give their speech, they must come into their Basecamp portal and mark the project complete. You need to come here and verify that they did that. And once you do that, log out of the Basecamp portal, just like you would in Pathways, on this cogwheel or the setting symbol, and hit log out. It's not going to log you out of the portal, it's just going to log you out of Basecamp for them. And I may have gone an extra step that I didn't have to. You may have been able to go back to learning, I'm not sure. But this is the one important step as the Speechcraft coordinator you must do. You must validate their speeches were completed, because that is the way Toastmasters International is going to know that they've completed their projects. And this is the screen you're going to get. Just put in the date of your meeting and the completion time. And then what you need to do is to search an existing training. And then you'll get this pop-up over here on the right. Let's say they did their icebreaker. All you have to do is type in icebreaker. You have to type in the topic that was covered for their speech. And you see, you get an automatic pop-up and you hit material. Then the screen changes and it says Speechcraft icebreaker and the date's there. But now you have to add the attendees. So you have to hit next. And they're going to tell you to add the attendees. And you add the attendees there. And everyone, all 5 of your Speechcrafters will show up. And you just hit select. I think there's a select all, but I don't see it. Right. There might be a select all. All right. And then what you would do, you would hit save. And once you hit save, the new screen's going to show you this. And you can do a bulk record. If you select all, you can do a bulk record and it will record everyone as having completed that. The next screen will come up and you will have to mark that they completed it. So if you hit bulk score, then the next screen will come up and then you mark record. If I deselect all, and let's say I just select the first one and I hit record, this is the result. This is what you're going to have to mark. And I don't score, I just say that they completed. So that's the screen you would see. It's real important that you validate each speech that they completed. Otherwise, they will not get credit from Toastmasters organization when they go to join another club. That's the way TI knows that they completed it. And down at the, all right, so that's that. Let's go back to learning. Session 8 overview. All right, we're going to have to go back to home. Your dashboard. I showed how you can check individually if they've done their homework or the lessons. What I was concerned about in the beginning is the Speechcraft assessment. And I could tell whether they did their before assessment before we met. It's important that they complete the before assessment before your first meeting. It's only something they receive and you as the coordinator receive. And it's basically a survey asking them how they feel about their ability with public speaking. Then at your midway point of your session, they are to do another self-assessment. And this one, naturally, is supposed to say that they've improved. It reminds me of the self-assessments that we do in Pathways, before and after each of our projects. And we have to do the after, so that Pathways, so that Basecamp knows the project is done and we get a check mark. In this case, they don't have to do the after assessment to get the check mark. Because as you will see here, if I refresh the after assessment, I think there's one or two that didn't do the after assessment and their projects are marked complete. And it's the same thing as the dashboard in Pathways. Completed all their speeches. Okay. So we're going to go out of that and go home. There's something else I want to show you. All your session resources are here in one place too. If you don't want to, you can open your sessions here as well. If in the beginning you just want to download everything at once, it gives you all the resources here, all in one slot as well. And as you can see, the agendas are posted there. They give you multiple places in which to retrieve the information. Decide where you want to get it from and continue with that method, because otherwise it can get confusing. There's one other thing I want to show you, and it is in this, when you do the speech validation, I want to go to the learning. I want to go in here. I haven't gone in here yet, so that's why I want to show you. Again, all the sessions are here in the overview. I want to go to view teams. Again, once you've completed your Speechcraft session, workshop, every member who participated, every participant receives a certificate for participating in the Speechcraft workshop. That doesn't mean that they had to complete every project. If they attended a workshop and completed 2, 3 speeches, even if they only completed 1, they get a certificate saying they were a Speechcraft participant. Speechcraft learning. And I want to go to complete it. Again, we're in the person's individual Basecamp portal. All the way down at the bottom, This is when you don't go to the coordinator tracking. You remain in the individual Speechcraft portal, as you can see. They're learning, pass and learning page type of thing, and all the way down at the bottom, it'll say activate Speechcraft certificate. You activate it and you launch it. And then the Speechcrafter can get their certificate. They can download it themselves because it had been activated, and you activated it and you told Toastmasters International, they complete it. And all it says, it gives the person's name, recognition, became a certified Speechcrafter. Doesn't mean they completed everything. The other thing you can do with this is you can download it and do a presentation meeting with them and present them with their certificates to make it fun for them. So now we're going back to home. And I'm going to log out of their portal. And it's going to bring me back to my home page. And there's a frequently asked questions page here as well. I'm going to sign out of the portal. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so that completes the webinar.
And you're on mute. And Golden, you're on mute.
Go again. Get off mute, right? We've had some questions and it's ran a little close, but I'll be happy to stay and answer some questions. Sue.
Yeah, hi, this was just a comment, a question comment from David earlier. It was partially explained in the video, but I just want to reiterate it because it is so important. David's question was, can Speechcrafters, if we do choose to do a 4-week program, is it okay if Speechcrafters give only 4 speeches or fewer? And I replied to him, yes, and you did cover it in the video. And my reply is that, yes, they get credit for what they accomplish, independent of the duration of your program. The more they speak, the more they get credit for towards their pathways progress. 4 or fewer is fine. If you are holding an 8-week session, such as Ian did with the Oral League Cancer Foundation, Cancer Research Foundation, and they had 8 weeks and opportunities to speak, they could have gone all the way through level 2 and even perhaps into level 3. Some people may be enrolled in an 8-week program, but might have to miss a session. So there's lots of leeway in terms of how many or few people can accomplish and get credit towards their pathways, should they then decide to become a full-fledged Toastmaster. They could complete their program and come into your club at a level 2 or 3.
To follow up on what Sue said, what I did with my Speechcrafters, because I took a personal interest in each of them and I wanted them to complete, and life happens, I had them come to my club because I held my sessions outside the club. I had them come to my club and deliver their speeches at my club and receive an evaluation from my members so that they could get credit, because some of them wanted to complete all of the projects. And I worked with them and I had them speak at different clubs. They spoke at What Exit, they spoke at my Ewing Club, they spoke at some of my other clubs. So I worked with them if they wanted to get all the projects done and come in as a level 3, I did it.
Yeah,
What
there was also something from Fred. For district leaders, encourage Speechcraft Blitz during a Toastmasters membership drive. What a great way to recruit new members and help clubs achieve some of their educational membership goals in the DCP. He also wrote, you might also consider using Speechcraft as a way to train the trainer, run Speechcraft for Toastmasters who want to run their own events. Great way to have Speechcraft coordinators experience it as a participant before running an event. And Ian Melanson wrote, what is the most difficult part of setting up, creating, delivering a Speechcraft event? So you can talk to that, Ian.
Getting your volunteers and coordinating it, making sure that you have your volunteers for each session, and rely upon your members to fill those functionary roles, because it's a lot of fun. I belonged to 7 clubs at the time, and I drew on all my members, and they loved participating. They love being the table topics because it really is different. Their speeches are shorter. The table topics, they give you guidance on the table topics, and get as many volunteers as you can. I had volunteers come back. Sue Brooks was there for every meeting. She loved it so much. She volunteered for all roles. She was there for all 8 sessions.
That's
I
not
had,
true. That's not true. I had to compete one session, but all the others I was there. Thank you.
Amy, you have a question?
Please come
They
off.
don't fail. They
Amy-
don't fail.
Amy,
There's
please-
no failure. Even I had one speech crafter do 1 speech. There's no failure. Everyone's a success, whether they do 1 speech, 4 speeches, or they do all 10, because you want to celebrate their success. Yes.
Okay, I'm off mute now, so. So you said that you had your speech crafters give the speeches in your clubs to get credit, but is it true that if they give their speech in speech crafters and they're already a member, they can put that into their path and get the credit for it, correct? If they've already given it.
Let me make sure I understand your question. That they're doing this, they have a path, they're starting a new path, because basically that's what Speechcraft is for, the beginning of a path. They can't use Speechcraft to complete higher projects. Speechcraft is the beginning basic skills. And I'm going to ask Fred, because I'm kind of narrow-minded sometimes in my thinking, and I might be wrong, but my thinking is Speechcraft is for the beginner, and therefore I would encourage members who are starting a new path, yes, that they could transfer that once they complete it in Speechcraft. After the workshop is over, then they can apply the credit. They don't. Toastmasters International gives them credit in their path. It doesn't work that way. Toastmasters International, the VPE has to contact TI and say, okay, this Speechcrafter is a member and they've completed this. They have to give them credit, I believe. Am I right, Fred?
I disagree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speechcraft is designed for new folks, and that's why there's all these provisions about, and there's worksheets saying how to get credit. But if you go look at in terms of regular pathways, as long as you have VP education permission to do a speech outside of the regular club meeting, you have a lot of latitude. Now, there are a few exceptions, but my perspective is, hey, if they're doing the speech, they need to get credit for pathways if it qualifies, the VP's on board, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the way I've done it for the 7 Speechcraft programs that I've run this year.
Okay. That's why I've asked Fred, because he's become a Speechcraft mentor to me in some ways. He's been very, very resourceful. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put in the chat a wonderful handout that he has provided. And it's a Speechcraft event checklist.
While you're doing that, I have one follow-up question just so that I can understand. So if we have non-members that join our Speechcraft program and we provide their name and their email address, do they get a login to Toastmasters.org for Speechcrafters? Or do we have to just provide them the information?
No, they get their own sign-in information, and they can sign into both Toastmasters.org and the Speechcraft portal.
Okay, very good.
Yes, Sue.
This was in the chat from Ian Melanson. She asked if there was any difference in holding a virtual or hybrid or in-person event. And the answer is absolutely yes, but you can go answer Ann's question, Ann.
Yeah, there is a difference. I did mine all virtual. It's still a digital package. You can hold the meeting, but there's no hard materials. So they can give their presentations in an in-person meeting. You can have it hybrid. Mine was all virtual because the organization, their volunteers were all in different states. So we did it virtual. But just know there's no printed materials per se. It's just like a Toastmasters meeting. You'd have to print out your evaluation form for the in-person meeting to give it to the person to evaluate you. And yeah, it can be done that way. Am I correct? Sue and Fred?
Yes, I could speak to that. I assisted at one session from one person who was having an in-person Speechcraft session for people who worked at a particular place. And they did have to print out their materials, but it can be done. And Anne was also asking about a hybrid situation. Again, you would have to have the technology in place. You have to make sure you have enough bandwidth, internet connection, and that everybody could see each other, but it can be done.
I'd recommend you not do hybrid because you only have 5 people. Now, I've done in person and I've done a lot of online. There are different dynamics, and you're absolutely correct. So they're going to have, the participants for in person have to do their own shopping to download the files. But having 2 people in person or 3 people online, I haven't done it, and I'm not going to do it because I think it would just zap the energy and it would really complicate the whole experience. Your mileage may vary.
Fred's going to put his information in. I will tell you, he is an awesome resource. And once you get on his email list, you will get all kinds of wonderful information. Yes, he is the club growth director this year for District 13. And I met him when he was just a Division B director last year in District 13. Although we know division directors are not just by any stretch of the imagination. He's an awesome person. Awesome provider of information, and you get on his network, your network is going to expand, let me tell you. Any other questions? Willie and Janet, Margaret, I am so delighted to see you both here. It's exciting for me to have you here for the Speechcraft webinar. Thank you so much for attending, everyone.
All right.
There is a short survey, so please be very honest. If it was the worst thing you ever saw, or if I stumbled, give me tips for improvement. This time around, I'm going to have to check that video. The video kind of got stalled a little bit. I'm going to have to check that. I don't know if it's like a tape, like it's getting worn out. I'll have to check it out. Then I might have to go away with the video. But I don't want to take anybody's more time. We're about 10 minutes over. If nobody has any more questions, I want to thank you all for the wonderful questions you presented. I want to thank my supporters for their answers, Roxanne, Fred, and Sue, and the wonderful questions everybody presented. And I think we all learned a little bit more today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Have a wonderful Saturday.
Wait, so will the form pop up when we go to log out, or will it be in our email?
That's the way I tried to set it up. It's the first time I did it. If it doesn't work, I have everybody's email and I'll send the survey.
Thank you
Bye.
again, Ann. Have a great
All
day.
right.
Remember
Bye-bye.
to stop recording.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Oops.